Speaking of brother in broadcast, Ricky Matthews joins us, Super Talk Mississippi host of the Ricky Matthews Show and also Super Talk Outdoors. Morning, Ricky. How are you, sir? It's good to see you.
I'm doing good, Paul. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. I heard from Steve a few moments ago. He was on his way to an elementary school to sing it with the kids, One Mississippi. So he's living his dream this morning. So there you go.
Hey,
so,
Paul, is there not a better man on earth? Is Steve not just an incredible human being?
I mean, number one, just to decide to move back to Mississippi to become an ambassador. Is two guys. Well, I say two. I'm sure there are others, but Morgan Freeman to decide to domicile back in his home state. And I'm sure that there are other Mississippians who have spent time here, but those two have just been ingrained and have done a lot for the state of Mississippi. So, all right. The question is, and you're going to inform me about this a lot, and folks who don't know, of course, Ricky's been in the publishing world as his real-time job for many, many years. And kind of went through that transition time as far as digital is concerned. What do you think is going to happen with this, and what's the status of it?
So, Paul, we're talking about the Google case, and let me give you a little bit of background. First of all, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm a publisher who watched the digital tsunami kind of come around and kill countless competitors along the way, including newspapers as we know them. The first big antitrust suit against big tech happened back in the 1990s, just 25 years ago. And as we now know, the judge ruled against Microsoft, saying that by installing, Internet Explorer software on all those computers was an unfair advantage. And as a result, Microsoft had to change their business practices as a result of it. But when you think about the Google case, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. I'll get to the nut of it here in just a second. But what's interesting about it is that so much has changed since this case was filed, and which is really always the case with big tech. I mean, so much is changing so rapidly, and the fact is the federal government tends to be a little bit far behind in the way that it's approaching this. I believe actually that the federal government could be more aggressive in dealing with big tech practices along the way, reining them in. But you're caught between innovation, wanting innovation to happen, and then stifling innovation, and I think that's really important. But the situation has changed. I mean, when you think about Google search, it's such a big deal today. But what's emerging rapidly is the number of competitors around advanced artificial intelligence like Chat GPT. And if you go to Wall Street today and ask them what are they worried about as it relates to Google, it's not about Google having too few competitors. It's about Google having too many competitors, because AI is emerging and AI is beginning to change everything. Let's look a little bit at Google. They did $58 billion in ad revenue last quarter. But they've been deeply concerned about how to monetize artificial intelligence. They've had their own effort underway. It's been a project back in a lab somewhere, but they've been really concerned about how to monetize it. The truth is, with the launch of Chat GPT, it really forces them to now roll out their version. They've got really good management there. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with it. This case that is underway as we speak, it's going to take until November to be heard. We won't even know the outcome until next year. But essentially, what the Justice Department and a bunch of other states allege is that Google has used its dominance, has created an unfair advantage against its competitors by paying companies like Apple billions of dollars, $15 to $20 billion a year for significant advantage.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Is it to achieve this parity that they want, is it just to sever the search part of it? Because they also own YouTube, and it's kind of a business model. You see this on shows like Shark Tank, where your business model is to become attractive, where a bigger shark will eat you and buy you out. And that's what happened to a lot of these places, a lot of these things such as that. So is it just the search part of it, or is it the ancillary businesses also?
They're actually, this particular lawsuit has to deal with search. There is actually another lawsuit that is really important, and it actually deals with ad tech, the ad tech market, and how Google has dominated the ad tech market. There's actually a separate civil lawsuit that Gannett, the largest newspaper publisher in America, they have filed as well. And obviously, I've watched that one really closely. This is not that case. That case will play out. This is actually specifically search. And so if you listen to analysts and you listen to legal experts that are watching this, they're not exactly sure how this is what the outcome is going to be, because again, the situation has changed dramatically. But at the end of the day, I think very few people are going to argue that what Google has done by paying.
But how do you break this up though, Rick? I mean, physically, how do you do this in a digital world? It's not like AT&T and Baby Bells all over the place.
Well, here some potential outcomes. Google will say that you can go now into your preferences on your phone and change who your Google search is. I mean, you can change it from Google to Yahoo to Bing to DuckDuckGo to this company called Ecosia. And by the way, who are they? They actually give their revenues to plant trees around the world. You can go there and do it, but and that's what Google's going to maintain. Google's going to maintain they built a strong company and they did all this, and that Google's become a verb and they become ubiquitous because they're great at what they do. But here's the reality: they've again paid Apple $15 to $20 billion a year to have that advantage, to have it built into our phones that Google's going to be the default search. And so initially what they could do is just change all of that. Say you can't pay Apple for unfair advantage. That creates a barrier to entry. We have to, probably when you set up your iPhone, they'll go in and say, which search engine do you want to use, and give people the opportunity to make a preference there. But, I don't know how it's all going to play out, because while Google's a very strong company, and while search is dominant and they dominate search, et cetera, Chat GPT and AI changes the marketplace, and it's going to continue to change the marketplace, and there's going to be emerging competitors. And again, I think the federal government's a little bit late, but I think the basis of their legal claim here is, to me, I think it's pretty solid. But I just don't know. Coming back to your point, I don't know, nor do a lot of analysts know, what could the outcome be.
You worry a little bit about having Chat GTP in your phone as a search engine?
Well, no more than I would worry about having any other capability, any big tech capability on my phone, because the reality is when you sign up for any of them, you're giving them all the ability to track enormous amounts of data on you.
It's scary. We were just talking about this a little earlier. The two AI robots at the ball game. Did you see that picture?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't see that? Those two robots sitting in the front. I can't believe. I got to see it and see if I can tweet it out. Sitting as two fans, which you wouldn't even notice them unless you look closely, in the front row of a football game, and all of a sudden it just set the Twitter world on fire, because people were saying, "Did you see that?" And they garnered all of that publicity intentionally by not putting out a press release, so it was helpful to them. Can you hang on for a second?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Ricky Matthews back with more coming up, and then Henry Barber, GOP strategist at 8:05. Man, lots to talk to Henry about, and he'll be in the house, and we'll do that coming up at 8:05. How do we change this influence in electronic media, television, et cetera, a lot of power out there right now. We had a figure, Ricky, I think it was last week before last, that on pharmaceuticals, and I'm not changing the subject here, but on pharmaceuticals, 75% of the total revenue from cable stations, from cable companies, 75% of their revenue is pharmaceuticals. In other words, if pharmaceuticals were banned tomorrow, they would have only a quarter of their total income. And I'm talking about from every different area, car dealers, vacation, tourism, whatever it happens to be. When 75% of your income is from one entity, they control you.
It's scary, Paul. And I think there may be one or two other exceptions, but America, I think, is one of the only countries in the world that enable
two countries in the world,
advertising.
Only two. Yeah, but I forgot. I think New Zealand was the other one.
Yeah, it's boy, I tell you, there's so many house of cards everywhere you look. It's just
it really is.
It's scary, and you're right about it. There's yeah. Go ahead.
You're not expecting a solution to this till into the new year.
Yeah, I think it's going to play out through November, and we won't hear from the judge until then. But, the most interesting thing about this, though, is that it's playing out when, as I mentioned at the beginning, when so much is changing in the big tech world so rapidly. Yep. Innovation's an interesting thing because it's so disruptive. It's constantly disrupting. Andy Grove from Intel once said, we're going to eat our young before somebody else does. And they used to actually put these teams of people out there asking them to compete against the company. They wanted to create new products and new disruptive innovation before someone else did it. And that's one of the stories behind Intel's success. But, you asked about ChatGPT a minute ago. ChatGPT, as more and more people start to use it and work with it, they'll be doing search a lot less. Because before, where I would have to go and do search and then work through all the search results and read it and combine it together to do my personal research, now you can just ask one question on ChatGPT and they go do the research for you. They give you the best of what's out there in one search. Have you played with it yourself, Paul?
I did it. I did for a while, and then I kind of backed off of it because I was a little. I was just hesitant about it, but I think I'll go back and reinstall it.
Yeah, but let me do that. I'm going to do something here. Hang on one second. Why is Paul Gallo? Hang on, bear with me. As good a radio personality as he is. Hey, listen. Why is Paul Gallo a good radio personality? Now, I just asked that query. You right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's literally loading as we speak. Engaging, entertaining. Paul Gallo has a charismatic, engaging personality that keeps listeners hooked. He knows how to connect with his audience and make them feel involved in the conversation. Paul is well-versed in a wide range of topics, politics, current events, and sports. His extensive knowledge allows him to insightful commentary, engage in meaningful discussions. He has strong interviewing skills. And, buddy, it just keeps listing them. Sense of humor.
Are you serious?
Gallo has a great sense of humor and knows how to inject it into his show. He uses humor to lighten the mood, entertain his audience, and create more. He's authentic and reliable. He has strong communication skills. It goes on from there. It gave
Paul
this back to me before I could even read it to you.
Hey, Lance, you notice I didn't interrupt him at all.
Paul hacked your accounts. What happened there?
That is scary. That is absolutely scary. I did do one or two things. I said, write me a promo for the show once.
Yeah.
And in 5 seconds, he came up with a good liner that, as a matter of fact, I think I sent it to Dave and David, and he recorded it. It's absolutely amazing.
But Paul, if you listen, here's the thing.
Now, for folks who don't understand this, that's just one AI, but there are other companies out there, right?
Yeah, they're all for now. They're takeoffs of what this open AI effort that's been underway. That's a collaboration.
Right.
It's going to get better. We've already seen new versions come along. Google, of course, is working on their own version, and it will bring you into the present day in terms of where the search results, where it cuts off. But the fact is that if you were going to do research on any topic, and I mean, this is going to be so controversial as we go forward. Teachers are already struggling with this. If you're going to do research on a topic, you can ask a query, and then you can modify it. You don't even have to explain what the modification is. You can say, okay, I want to ask about this, and then it gives you the results, and it says, but add this dimension to it, and that's all you have to say is what the dimension is, and it's learning with you. So it takes the previous answer, and it completely modifies it with whatever that modification is, and it just continues that way.
With any technology, there's the good and the bad. And I think there's a lot of good on this one. And I'm interested because Someone said it's the total sum of world knowledge that mankind has ever known put into a computer with an instantaneous, split-second answer for you. And that's scary in some cases. But when it comes to things like curing cancer, that's the part of it that we are excited about. Ricky, it's always an energetic and fun time when we get together. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And thank you.
Hey, man, it's been my pleasure. Have a great day.
Take care now. Henry Barber coming up.